So we think the most important thing, we think the 11 million unauthorized immigrants who are already here are really important. Those are human beings. They're living in the shadows. They're living in fear. That's not good. That has to change. But even more important than them is, are we going to fix the legal immigration system so it works for the future? And, 99.9% of the 11 million who are already here would rather have come legally. You don't get anything out of coming illegally. You don't get any extra tax breaks. You don't get any special welfare. You have to live in fear. And so the question is, can we create a system for the future where people who we actually need to have come here or would like to have come here can benefit when they come here because they're good workers and they bring vitality and they do jobs that there aren't enough Americans to do? Can we create a way for people like that to come legally as opposed to illegally? And I and the employers I work with, who are employers who would actually rather hire legal workers. Again, some employers benefit from hiring illegal workers, but mostly if you've got your family savings at stake or your big brand name at stake, you want the certainty of a legal labor force. So the question is, how do we set up a system for the future where employers have to try to hire Americans first, try to find Americans first, try to hire Americans first, but if they can't, they can hire immigrant workers pretty easily, pretty quickly, and legally. And that's kind of people are focused on the 11 million people already here, and they think that's what immigration reform is about. We actually think the most important part of immigration reform is this idea of fixing it for the future so that we don't have another 11 million unauthorized immigrants here and wonder what to do with them in 10 or 20 years.
Do you think they're going to be able to do that? Because you're talking about two things: fix the illegal problem, which they never talk about that in terms of anything other than illegal, and then you have the immigration system generally.
Well, it shouldn't be that hard, right? We can, as a country, we figure out how to import the goods we need. We figure out how to have an international system so that investments can flow. And other countries in the world figure out, and we have a pretty good system for high-skilled immigrant workers. They come, PhD scientists can come on visas. So, why should it be that hard? I'm not saying people are widgets. They're not. People are much more valuable than widgets. These are people bringing not just skills and energy, but vitality and kind of spirit. Why shouldn't we be able to come up with a visa system that allows that asks employers that requires them to try to hire Americans first, but when they can't, makes it possible for them to hire an immigrant? That's not rocket science.
Why is the conversation not really existing on the Capitol Hill or in Washington, I guess, to change this? Because I always say to Davis, the desire to work, to me, is a pretty high skill that's kind of lost in America. And we see a lot of these immigrants coming this way, and they have that desire to work. If you look at the success stories like on Shark Tank, like Mark Cuban, for instance, he was poor as dirt, and now he's a billionaire. So
yeah, and I think Americans do want to work, but I think this isn't really about sort of dissing American workers, but the truth is American workers are actually getting more and more educated, too educated mostly, to want to do things like work in the fields or work as kind of dishwashers in restaurants and hotels. Most Americans aspire to more than that, but actually not educated enough to be. We don't have enough. No country has enough PhD scientists and engineers and people like that. So we need at both ends. We actually need more people, and it's not a diss on Americans. It's just we need to fill out the whole picture around the edges.
We have just a little bit of time left to generalize about what they would do. This legislation, if passed in the form that it's hinted at now, would create a path for citizenship, make them street legal now, but then create a path for citizenship and an opportunity to become a citizen at some point in the future, 10 or 11 years, one reads in some places. That's been decried as amnesty. What do you define as amnesty?
Well, to me, I mean, I think what you want to, what the point about this, about what we would offer these people, you wouldn't just say, I'm waving a wand and you're legal. We would say you have to jump through some hoops to get onto the right side of the law. And those hoops would be paying some kind of fine, paying your back taxes, proving that you're, not using welfare and that you're working. And, you want to, this is not just about saying anybody here, just because they're here, we're fine with it. It's about saying we're going to give you an opportunity to earn your way back. And, there's some dispute, I think, and we'll see as it plays out. Are they going to get citizenship? Or are they going to get sort of legal status? And, we'll see what the politics can bear.
Mm-hmm.
Do people think they get citizenship or do they get legal status? And, one would be a little more of a recognition, well, they've done something wrong. We're going to give them a chance to stay here, but maybe not give them, the best, finest rights we have on offer.
One of the I've read that without a path for citizenship, the Democrats and liberals won't go for it. Without
that's
some
going
sort
to be that's going to be the big. You put your finger on what I think is going to be the big issue. I think there are going to be a lot of Republicans who are going to say path to legal status is okay with me, but I can't go as far as citizenship. And there are going to be some Democrats who are going to say it has to be all the way to citizenship or nothing. And the question is going to be, can they resolve that? That would seem like territory, close enough that you ought to be able to come up with a resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Will they be able to? That's going to be one of the $64 million questions going forward.
I think I'm not done, but the clock says we're done, so we'll ring off for today. Thank you very much for talking with us. I appreciate it. Perhaps we can do it again.